Good evening. This is a special broadcast to the nation with Vice President Carl Greenidge performing the duties of President. The Vice President will now make a statement.
Thank you, Enrico. The Government of Guyana takes note of the majority decision of the Court of Appeal handed down today, Friday, March 22nd, 2019. The Government is pleased with the decision as it settles matters which have been discussed ad nauseum for several months and which had led to some level of uncertainty in the society. The majority decision establishes that the coalition government is legal and lawful and constitutionally remains in office without hindrance or let. The government, from the time of inviting the Speaker of the National Assembly to revisit and address the vote of December 21st and its consequences, was confident that the required threshold for a no-confidence vote was 34 votes and not 33. That position has been today eminently vindicated by the esteemed members of the Court of Appeal, the Chancellor, Yonette Cummings Edwards, Justice Dawn Gregory, and Justice Rishi Prasad. This majority decision reaffirms and underscores that democracy in Guyana remains robust and strong, and that we are, as a society, making significant strides with regard to how we approach complex and difficult problems in a mature and responsible manner, the spurts of disruptive and divisive calls notwithstanding. It also underscores respect for the independence of the judiciary and the separation of powers. I now appeal to all Guyanese to respect the ruling of the Court of Appeal, and should there be additional legal challenges at the level of the Caribbean Court of Justice, we should remain calm in awaiting the outcome of that process as well. I urge all Guyanese to continue to conduct their business and go about their daily activities with the full confidence that their safety and well-being are assured. Henceforth, the situation as regards Parliament is restored to the position as at 21st of December prior to the vote. Arrangements will be made for Parliament to meet and conduct its business unhindered. There are no barriers to the President and the Cabinet moving forward as they see fit and without unusual hindrances. I thank you.
That was a special broadcast, a statement from the Vice President, the Honorable Carl Greenidge, on the outcome of the issues arising in the Court of Appeal today. Vice President, if you would give us a chance to ask you just a few questions on the way forward.
Most certainly.
We are more likely than not in a situation where the international community has indicated that a legal process should take course. What happens now? How do you respond to the international community?
Well, I did have some exchanges with some representatives of bilaterals today, as well as it happens, to one of the Secretaries General of the international community. And in addition to explaining that there was no crisis in the sense that the Constitution has a mechanism via which we need to resolve these problems. And in the end, if the issue was a date, and that was never the sole issue, and that was never the heart of the problem, the date of a general election, there was a process which could be resolved by compromise, dialogue and compromise between the political parties. At the end of the day, the problem that people were trying to turn into a crisis actually turned upon the willingness and ability of the two political leaders to identify a date based upon what GCOM's assessment was. And I was looking only today at the situation in 2000, when GCOM indicated to the president at the time that he could not make they could not make a date set at January the 17th. And after discussion, they arrived at March 19th, which was beyond the deadline. So there was never a crisis in the sense that there was a problem and no mechanism was available. But let me say, specifically in relation to the decision of the court, that the court has looked at the case put to them by the various attorneys and has concluded that the motion for a no confidence vote was not properly passed. It didn't meet the requirements, and therefore the international community, which many people had sought to bring to a point where they would question the standing of Guyana and of its government, has no option but to recognize that, yes, there were problems arising in the first instance from a member of parliament casting his vote in an unconstitutional manner. And that gave rise to problems. The court has looked at it. A number of, if you like, arguments were put to the court. The court has made its decision, and therefore we go back to the situation that existed on January the 21st, on December the 21st, before the vote, which means that the relationship with the international community does not have to be under a shadow as to whether they need to be asking us about the standing of the government. Not that as of this, as of tonight, the 22nd of March, even if one believes the arguments of the naysayers, if the 22nd of March was the end of the 90 days which the Constitution provides for the naming of a date of election, up to now, the government itself would not have been, if you like, unconstitutional, contrary to what was being said. So what I'm trying to say is that these international agencies, regional agencies in the multilateral community, were being apprised by us that there was a deadline for something. The deadline has not been reached, and most certainly our relationship with them would not have changed. In any case, the relationship with the government doesn't change like that, just as a result of a single deadline not being met. So there has been an ongoing relationship with these agencies. I'm sure the agencies would be happy to know, and this is really what's their concern, that there would be in Guyana no disquiet or disruption arising from political challenges or difficulties associated with an unconstitutional act on the part of a member of parliament, and the attempt by a political party in the parliament to exploit and misrepresent both what has happened and the consequences that should follow.
Vice President, we are more likely than not to hear political rumblings going forward, however. How do we assure our people across the nation, be they in Oriala, Mabaruma, Mahdia, Lethem, Aishalton, I'm speaking of places where we're being heard on NCN, how do we assure them that there is stability?
Well, the assurance or evidence of stability in a community as regards governance can be had by the fact that the government conducts its business in an orderly fashion and in a predictable fashion. And what I can say to you is that Parliament has powers. For example, that is the most important element of governance. the Parliament, acting upon the decision of the court, can meet as soon as it likes to address whatever it likes and to deal with bills brought before it and motions brought before it, however it likes. So that, if you like, is the predictable business of Parliament. It is in a position to meet. The government can pass its bills. The president and his ministers can go about their business. If anybody chooses to suggest to workers that they should not be working, then they have to remember they have contracts, and that the court, which is the agency for acting as the mediator, if there's a challenge, if there's an assertion that the Constitution has been breached in some way, the only authority in this country for determining whether that Constitution has been breached is the court system. We have gone through 2 stages of the court system. You've had a court of first instance. Chief Justice has made a decision. You've now had the appeal court, and the appeal court has pronounced on the matter. 3 issues were before them, and they have pronounced in favor of the government. But in any case, although there is a 3rd stage likely to be triggered, it is a process, again, that is predictable. In other words, it is the right of every citizen, it is the right of each agency to have resort to courts of our system if they feel dissatisfied by a decision. So one can have no difficulty with any member of the public or any political party now saying, well, we've heard the Court of Appeal and we don't agree with it. Yes, there's a process. They can go to the Caribbean Court of Justice, but in the interim, the government carries on as normal. Its powers are unmodified. That is the situation, and that means that they are in a position to defend the interests of the individual citizens and of agencies. As an executive, it has full powers and will exercise those full powers.
Thank you so much, Vice President, for making all of that clear. You've been watching a special broadcast with Vice President Carl Greenidge, and he is performing the duties as President. He made a statement earlier on, and we're going to continue to repeat this program so that you can fully understand the outcome of what happened at the Court of Appeal today. I'm Enrico Wilford. Thank you very much for joining us on NCN. Have a pleasant rest of the evening. Goodbye for now.